this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little bracelet. It's a right angle weave, but each unit is at a diagonal position, and then it's embellished on top with another crystal. I have used cuboid crystals, 4x4x4s, for this particular design. However, you can use bicones and you can use several other things. I'll discuss that in the next segment, so do not feel like if you can't get a cuboid you can't make this, because you can. I want you to see what it looks like on my skin here so you can see how pretty each unit is. And it's difficult for me to quickly put it on so you can see what it looks like on the wrist, but I'm just going to show you. And let me back off just a little bit. I'm going to show you really quickly what it looks like. And for some reason, I'm getting in all kinds of shadows here. So let's see if I can do this. And I used a box clasp. It works really nicely. And you can make them, of course, adjusted to the length that you desire. So, and we'll discuss that in the video also. So let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this particular bracelet, and we will get started. Okay, for this project today, I will be using 4x4x4 cuboid beads. So they're just this little square bead. And I'm going to be using two colors. I'm using a powder blue and a pink luster. Now you can use 4mm bicones, 4mm fire polish beads, or 4mm rounds for this particular design. You don't have to have a cuboid. We're also going to be using 11/0 and 15/0 seed beads. I have Toho galvanized permanent finish aluminum in both sizes here. We're going to be using two wire guardians, and this is a size 1 wire guardian. You can use most any size and make it work for this, but I'm using a small one. Wire guardian is a horseshoe shaped little component that has two tubes on either side so that you can sew up and around it. Then we are going to be using a clasp. Now I have out two because I haven't decided which one is going to work better for my bracelet. I have this little toggle clasp and I have a rhinestone box clasp. And I do have some of these on the website if you want some. So I haven't decided which one I want to use yet, but I've got them both out and ready just in case I decide that I want the other one. Now, I'm going to be using some 10-pound Nanofil. You can also use 6-pound Fireline or 8-pound Nanofil. All of those will be fine, but nothing bigger than a 6-pound Fireline, because you will be traveling through these beads a lot and you want to be able to travel through them freely. So you need a small diameter thread. I'm also going to be using a size 12 beading needle. I have a pony size 12, and you're going to put onto your beading needle to start with about 4.5 to 5 feet. You're going to need to extend during this project. It is a thread thirsty stitch, so I will put a link to a video that will show you how to do that if you do not know how in the description box beneath the video player. So let's go ahead and thread our needles and get started with this project. Okay, to start this pattern, you are going to pick up 4 cuboids or whatever bead you're using with 4 11/0s alternating between. Start with your main bead, your cuboid, and end with the 11/0. I'm starting with my blue color, and I'm going to bring it down to the end of the thread, and I'm just going to leave enough thread on the tail here to hold on to and tie a knot with. Then I'm going to go up from the tail side into the first bead on the thread. I'm going to hold on to that bead. I'm going to hold on to my thread, my tail, and I'm going to pull until the beads form a circle like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and sew back through all of them. When I get back to where my tail thread and my working thread meet, I will tie a knot. So I have to go through this last 11/0 right here. And now my tail and my working thread are right next to each other. I'm just going to cross my working thread over my tail like this, and then put my tail through the loop that results in twice. And then I'm going to pull a knot down between the beads, just like this. I'm going to shorten this tail just a little bit so it's not quite so much in my way, but I want to leave enough length in case my beads slip. Now I am going to sew away from my knot. So I'm going to go into the 11-0 and the cuboid and the next 11-0, just like this. And here I will begin to put on an embellishment over the top of this unit. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. I'm going to pick up my opposite color cuboid, which is my pink, and a 15-0 seed bead. I'm going to go directly across into the bead opposite of the one I'm coming out of, and I'm going to go into the same side I'm coming out of this bead. So I'm coming out of this side, I'm going to go into this side of the opposite bead. Just like this, so straight across. And then I'm just going to pull my thread through and pop these little beads on top of my unit, just like this. And then we have to anchor the other half of the cuboid bead by picking up another 15-0. Then we're going to go directly into the cube. Hold onto your unit with your thumb and your finger and just pull your thread through. Give a little tug so that it pops that 15-0 next to the one that's already there. And then we're going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Pick up a 15-0 and go into the bead on the opposite side from which you started this embellishment. So right here. And then I am going to pull my thread through. So I have my first unit right here. Now I am going to build another unit right next to it. And this time I'm going to do it with my pink beads first. So we're sharing this bead in this unit, this 11-0. So in our next unit, all we have to do is pick up 4 cubes and 3 11-0s. You start with your cube and then alternate the 11-0s between the 4 cubes. So this is what I have. And I'm going to go into the opposite side of the bead I'm coming out of. Just like this. Pull my thread through and pull this down. Now I'm going to sew completely around this unit to secure it and make it tight so I can put an embellishment on top of it without it falling apart. So just sew around all the beads. Don't miss any. When you come through the last cuboid, it's easier to come through just it and then go through the connecting 11-0 between the units. Now we're in the bead that connects the 2 units. We are going to put another embellishment on. So we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and then we are going to pick up, if I can get just one, pick up the opposite color bead that our unit is. So I'm picking up a blue because my unit is pink. And then another 15-0. Now I'm coming out of this side of this bead. I'm going to go into the opposite bead on the same side, like this. And pull these beads down on top of the unit. Tighten them a little bit. And then anchor the other side of the cube by picking up another 15-0, going back into the cube. Hold onto the cube and the unit and just pull your thread through. Give a little tug so that that bead lays nice next to the previous one, and then pick up another 15-0. Then you're going to have to go back into the opposite side of the connecting bead between the units, right here. Pull your thread through and just bring that bead up into place. Give a little tug, just like that. Now we're going to sew around this pink unit so we can get to this bead on this side so that we can put on our clasping, and then we will begin our actual body of the bracelet. So I'm coming out of the connecting bead here. I'm going to go directly into the pink bead and the 11-0 behind it. I'm just going to sew until I get all the way around to this bead here. So if you're holding it with your first color on top, you should be coming out of the side bead right here, if you're holding it the same way I am. Now I am going to cut this tail thread down some more, and I am going to put on a little clasping connection. So I'm going to need my wire guardian, and I am going to need some 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, or do I want 3? No, I want 2. And get 2 that are more uniform. And I'm going to drop these 2 11-0s down to my unit. Then I'm going to pick up my wire guardian, and I am just going to go through one side of the wire guardian. Whoops. Like this, and bring it down to these 11-0s. I'm going to hold it in my hand and then go into the other side, just like this. I'm then going to cover it with my thumb and my finger and pull my thread, and that way I can feel my thread slide through my fingers and down into the divot of the wire guardian. There's a little divot on top here. Now I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go into the 11-0 on this side. So from the inside would be the side of the clasping here, into this 11-0 and the cube behind it. And I'm going to pull this down. And this is what you should have. Now we have to sew all the way around so we can get back up around this unit one more time. It's a wire guardian, so we don't have to sew through it 4 and 5 times, but we have to go through it at least one more time so that the thread through here is doubled. So we're going to go into this bead here. We're just going to sew all the way around, and we are going to kind of get off our thread path on this particular unit and not any of the others, but we're going to do that simply because of the way this is positioned. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this next bead and 11-0 here, and we're going to go through this cube here. If you can see that. Now normally you would have to go into this 11-0 and up through this cube, but that puts our thread in the wrong position. So we're just going to cross into the next unit. We're going to cross into this pink bead and the 11-0 here from this bead and go straight across. Now normally you don't do that, you never cross, but because of this particular design, we can get away with it. We're going to go up through the pink bead here and the 11-0, and then back up into the clasping. So we'll go through the cube here, and I've got 2 11-0s, so I'm going through those 2 right here, and then I can go through the next 11-0, if I can get in the right position here, and up through the wire guardian right here. Just like that. And I'm going to pull this through, go through the other side of the wire guardian and the first 11-0 if I can. And actually I can go through 2 of them. So I'm going to go through 2 of them. And I'm going to put my thumb and my finger over that wire guardian, pull my thread down nice and slow, and pop it into that divot. Straighten everything out. And then I'm going to go into this last 11-0. And cube on this side. Now we've got our connection for our clasping. If you feel you need to sew through it one more time, you can. However, like I said with the wire guardian, it should be fine. Now you want to hold your unit this way. We are going to begin building our units from this bead, and then we're going to go up above it, then we're going to go sideways, then we're going to go above it. So we're going to be building a series of like backwards L's here. So what we need to do is we need to get to this bead here to make our next unit. So we're going to go into this side bead and this cube right here, and then into this 11-0. And so like I said, if you're holding your bracelet this way, we're working to the side, and then we'll work to the top. So right here is where we're going to build our side unit. When we build our side units, we will use the same color as the unit that we're building it from, or next to, or connecting to. So we're going to pick up blue because we're coming out of the blue and we're making a side unit. So we're going to pick up 4 cubes and 3 11-0s. We're going to start with a cube because we're sharing this 11-0. So start with a cube and then pick up 4 cubes with 3 11-0s in between them. Like this. Then you're going to go into the opposite side of the bead you're coming out of and pull the unit down. Just like this. Now we're going to sew all the way around this unit to secure it and make it tight so we can put an embellishment on it. So we're just going to go all the way around the entire unit. Don't miss any of your beads. Just keep sewing until you get back to your connecting bead. Okay, it's easiest just to go through the cube and then go through the 11-0 between the units that connect the units, just like this. Now, we can sew down to this bead and put our embellishment on, but then when we're done with our embellishment, we stay in this bead, and we need to work from this bead to make our next unit, because as I said, we're going to go sideways and then we're going to go up. So we're going to sew to the top of the bead here. So if you're holding it sideways this way, you're going to sew up to this bead. So we're going to go 3/4 of the way around this unit again. Okay. So now I'm in this bead and I'm going to put my embellishment on. Because I'm in a blue unit, I'm going to pick up a pink cube for my embellishment. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0, a pink cube and a 15-0, and I'm going to go directly into the bead opposite of the bead I'm coming out of and on the same side from which I'm coming out. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go into this bead on this side. Right here. And I'm just going to pull these beads down on top of the unit. Now I have to anchor the other side. So I pick up a 15-0, excuse me, go into the cube, and just the cube. I'll put my thumb and finger over it so I can give a little tug and pop that 15-0 down next to the previous 15-0. Now I will pick up another 15-0 to anchor this half and go into the opposite side of the bead from which I started the embellishment. Pull that bead down, just like that. Now I'm coming out of the bead that I need to make my next unit in, and my next unit will go on top. When you're doing a top, because we're doing side and then we're going to do top, when you're doing a top unit, you're going to do the opposite color of the unit you're coming out of. So we're going to start with pink cuboids. We're going to pick up 4 cuboids with 3 11-0s in between, and you're going to start and end with a cuboid. So go ahead and pick up your series of beads. And this is what you should have, just like this. And we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. So we're going to go into this 11-0 on the other side. Just like this. And pull this out around. Just like that. Now we have to sew all the way around this unit to secure it. So we're going to go into the cube and the 11-0. And just keep sewing until you get back to your connecting bead. And yes, I know my fingers are over the unit, but I have to hold it, so I apologize, but you know, 'tis what it is. All right, we're going to go all the way around. And then we're going to go back into this connecting bead here. And now we can put our embellishment on. So we're going to pick up a 15-0, and then I'm going to use a blue cube and a 15-0. And I'm going to go directly into the bead across from the bead I'm coming out of. So the opposite bead and into the same side from which I'm coming out of the previous bead. And I'm just going to pull and bring this down over the top. Then I have to anchor the other half by picking up a 15-0 and going back into just the cube, just like this. Put your thumb and finger over it, pull it down, and make sure that the 15-0s actually lay next to each other nice, because they can do weird things. And then pick up a 15-0 and secure the other side by going into the bead between the 2 units. So the 11-0 here. If you need to, you can always turn your piece over. You can see that bead in between the units a little bit better. So now I've got my tension. Make sure my bead on top looks nice and the 15-0s lay nice. And then I have to sew all the way around this unit to get to this one here so that I can make my next unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around. I'm going to go into this pink one here. And the 11-0. And then we're going to go here and here and then into this bead, because we're going to make a sideways unit now. We just did our top unit. If you hold it, we went straight up and down, then straight up and down. Now we're going to go sideways again. So if you hold it this way, that's sideways. I guess I should show you this way. So we're going to come out of this bead right here. We're going to make a unit the same color as the unit we're coming out of. So every time you go to the side, you're going to use the same color. Now we're going to pick up 3 or 4 of our cubes, starting with our cubes, 3 11-0s in between them. Like this. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. And pull this down. It's like this. Now we need to sew all the way around. And we're back through the connecting bead. Now, we're going to sew 3/4 of the way around to this bead simply because of the fact that that will make you end up after your embellishment in the right bead to do your next unit. So you could do it here and then sew around after you do it, but we're not going to do that. It's just easier, the flow is easier if we just start to sew and we sew 3/4 of the way around. So let's go through this bead. So we're through the cube, the 11-0. We're going to go through the next cube and 11-0. And then the next cube and 11-0. So basically you're going through 3 sets here of 11-0s and cubes. Now, if you're holding your piece like this, you should be coming out of this top bead right there. Then we're going to pick up a 15-0 and a blue cube, since we have a pink unit, and a 15-0, just like this. And we're going to go directly into the bead across from this bead on the same side from which we're coming out of the bead we're coming out of, just like this, and pull this down like that. Then we're going to anchor the other half by picking up a 15-0, going directly into the cube, pull that 15-0 into place, pick up another 15-0, and go into the opposite side of the bead we started the embellishment in, right here, and pull this through like this. Now we have to make another unit on top of this unit because this is a sideways unit. And let me fix my 15-0. This is a sideways unit that comes here. This is going to be the way your bracelet's going to lay. So we're this way, this way, this way, this way. So we have to come up this way. And because we're going up instead of to the side, we're going to use the other color. So we're going to pick up our 4 cubes and our 3 11-0s, starting with the cube and ending with the cube, putting the 11-0s in between, like this. Go into the opposite side, just like that. And then I'm going to turn it this way so I can just hold on to it better. Now I'm going to sew through all of my beads to secure this unit, and then I will put my embellishment on. So you're going to go all the way around into the connecting bead, and because this is the upward bead instead of the sideways bead, we will make our embellishment from the bead that we are attaching to the previous unit. So we'll go all the way down and into our attaching bead. And now we don't have to sew 3/4 of the way around because we're in the proper bead to start with, just like this. So now we can put on our embellishment. I'm going to get real close for just one unit so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So now I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up one of my pink cubes, and then a 15-0 seed bead, and I'm coming out of this bead right here. I'm going to go into this bead here on the same side that I'm coming out of this bead. So I'll go in here, just like this, and pull these 3 beads down. Like this. Now we are going to pick up a 15-0 and anchor the other side of the cube. So we're going to go directly down into the cube. Then we're going to pick up another 15-0 and we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead between the units that we started in, right here. Pull this through. Make sure that 15-0 goes into place. And now we have to work over to this bead here because this is our up bead. We need to make a side bead. So we're just going to sew all the way around to this 11-0 here. And because it's going to be our side unit, we'll use the same color as the unit we're coming out of. So we'll make it blue. Okay, come on, go through there. The floppy beadwork, I'm telling you. So let's go through here and then into this bead. And now we can begin our next unit. We'll do one more double unit here and then we'll go to length. You should be able to follow the previous units and make this bracelet because it is nothing but repetition from this point on. So now we know we have to make a sideways unit. So we're going to make it in the same color that we're making that as the unit that we're coming out of. That didn't want to come out of my mouth, I'm telling you. Okay, so we're going to pick up our 4 cubes, starting with a cube, and then put 3 11-0s in between, end with a cube. So this is what we've got. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. So now we've got a sideways unit. So what we have to do is sew all the way around and then sew 3/4 of the way around again. So let's go through all of these beads. And then into the last cube, then into the connecting bead. And now I have to sew all the way around to this one so I can put my embellishment on and then end up back in this bead to make my top unit. So I am going to sew 3/4 of the way around my unit. Come here. Okay. All right. So holding the unit this way, you can see I'm in the top 11-0 here, and I am going to now put my embellishment on. So 15-0, pink cuboid, 15-0, and go directly into the bead opposite the bead I'm coming out of, but on the same side from which I'm coming out. So straight across the unit, just like this, and then pull it down. Then we pick up a 15-0 and go back into the cube to anchor the other side of the cube. Pull that 15-0 into place, pick up another 15-0, go into the opposite side of the bead we started the embellishment in, right here. And now we can begin our next unit. So we're going to pick up our pink beads because we're doing a top unit, so it'll be the opposite of the color that we're coming out of, so the other color anyway. And we're going to pick up our 4 cubes with our 3 11-0s. Come on. And one more cube here, like this. Then we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. Let me get that 15-0 into place here. It's all weird. Okay, that's better. Let's go into here, just like this. So this is what you have now. And let's just sew all the way around it. And because this is a top bead, when we get back to the connecting bead, we can just put our embellishment on. We do not have to sew, or it's a top unit. We do not have to sew 3/4 way around the top units, just the side units that we create. So we're going to go all the way down into the connecting 11-0 here. Go through the cube, go through the 11-0. Right here. Make sure everything looks halfway decent, and then pick up your 15-0, your opposite color bead. So I'm going to pick up a blue and then a 15-0, and I'm going to go into the bead directly opposite the bead you're coming out of, and then into it on the same side from which you're coming out of the previous bead. And geez Louise, come here. All right, we'll go into this one here, right there. Okay. And then I'm going to pick up another 15-0 and anchor the other side of the cube. Go directly into the cube. I'll hold on to the cube and pull my thread. Make sure that 15-0 goes into the right spot, because sometimes they pop right in, sometimes they mess with you. And then go into this side. Okay, so now that this was my top unit, I'm holding it like this. Oh, I hope I was in camera. Let me scoot out a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I've done all the units exactly the same. So if I was out of camera for a moment there, you should know what's going on by now. If you don't, just back it up. Back up the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around until we get to this bead here, so that we can make our next side bead. And because we're making a side bead and it's pink, we're going to make a pink unit. So all you have to do when you're coming out of the bottom of your top bead is sew all the way to this side and start your next side bead. Now let me get through this, and we'll sew all the way around it. And then I'm going to come out here and I'm going to lay it down. I know it's hard for you to tell when I'm moving it around, but I have to sew it, so I have to move it. So this is where we're coming out now. So this is the entire stitch. It's completely repetitive. Every time you make your top unit, you'll make a side unit the same color, and then you'll sew 3/4 of the way around, make a top unit, and then you'll sew all the way around, make a side unit, and then you'll sew and make you know, top, bottom, side, side. So you see what I'm saying, just like this. Okay, so continue doing that until you have 14 double units. So I'm counting them this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the picture. So each double unit is what I'm considering 1. So now, with length in mind, this is measuring just a little bit under 7 inches. By the time I put on my wire guardian and my clasp, I'll have about a 7.5 inch bracelet, because I'm measuring from my first tip of my wire guardian here and to the end of here. So I'm hoping it'll be about 7.5 inches long. That just kind of gives you a guide. of what this many units is going to make for you. If you need a longer or a shorter bracelet, you'll just adjust the amount of double units you make. You just have to make sure that you end on a double unit. Don't just make one pink or something like that. I suppose you could if you can finagle it, but make your double units. You can make 2 less, or you can make 2 more, or 1 less, 1 more, whatever you need for your length. Now we're coming out of this pink bead here. Now, if you happen to be coming out of the blue, you're going to do the ending exactly the same way I'm doing my ending. You'll just go from your blue to your pink instead of from your pink to your blue. Doesn't really matter, follow regardless. So we're going to do the ending exactly like we did the other side. We're going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads onto our needle here. Make sure you're coming out of the very end 11-0 here, or here, and then drop 2 11-0s down. I'm going to get you in closer. Pick up your wire guardian and go through one side of it, just like this. Bring it down to your 11-0s. Pick it up, go back into the other 2 on the other side, hold on to it between your fingers, slide your thread until you feel it go into the divot of the wire guardian, and then pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. And then you're going to go down into the 11-0 here from the inside out. Don't go this way. And bring this down. And both sides are going to be kind of be tipped one way or the other. That's just how it's going to be because the units are at a diagonal. So don't worry that it's a little tipped. It's going to have to be. Then once we have gone through this 11-0, we're going to go through the cube here and the 11-0 behind it. We're then going to go through the next cube and the next 11-0 here, which you'll probably have to do one at a time. So I've gone through the cube. Let me get in camera well here. I'm going to go through this 11-0 here. If it will let me, there we go. And then I'm going to go up through this cube here. This is right before the 11-0 that joins the 2 units together. Just go through just the cube. Let me see if I can get through here without picking up anything else. So just the cube here. And then we're going to jump into the pink unit, the cube right next to the cube we're coming out of. And again, you don't usually cross that way with right angle weave. I want to make that clear. But on this particular pattern, it works out. So let me back off just a little because I can't stay in camera. And we're going to finish sewing around and coming back up through our wire guardian. So let's go pick up where we left off into the pink cube here and the 11-0. And then I'll try to get a little bit closer. Then we'll go into this cube here, the 3 11-0s and the wire guardian, just like this. And pull this through. Now, go back into the other side of the wire guardian. Well, there we go. And I'm going to try to go at least through a couple of the 11-0s here also. Well, actually, I got all the way through. So I'm going through the wire guardian and 3 11-0s and the cube here. Once I pull my needle through, I'll hold on to it so I can guide my thread into the top of the wire guardian. And then I'm just going to sew down into the next 11-0. You can go all the way around the unit again if you would like, but it has a wire guardian, so you shouldn't have to. We're going to go into the 11-0 here. And then I am just going to sew down. So I've just turned my bracelet. I'm going to sew down into this next blue unit underneath the unit I attached my clasping to. And right between this 11-0 and this cube, I'm going to try to go under the embellishment and between the two beads here, just like this, put my needle through, create a loop, draw the loop so that it's right between those beads and go through it. And pull a knot down between this cube and this 11-0. I'm going to go into the next 11-0 and next cube. And again, between this 11-0 and this cube, I'm going to create another loop. Come on, don't do that. And go through it. Pull that down. And then I'm just going to go through another cube. And you can sew through as much as you want until you feel like it's secure. I'm going to turn it over, and on the back I'm just going to go down through another cube here, and I am going to make sure that that's not, I can't do that. That will cross through weird, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just coming out of this blue one. If I want to go into more beads, I have to go into this 11-0. There. And now I am going to cut my thread. I've left a pretty good little tag here of thread. And I'm going to grab my lighter, and I'm just going to put the heat close and just roll that thread into the beadwork. Okay, now this is what I have. Let me back up a little more here. So it looks strange because your clasping is going to go one way or the other. There's nothing you can do about that, unless you want to come directly out of one side and then one half of your bracelet isn't really anchored to your clasping. So this is the way I devised doing this. Now I can put on my little, I'm going to try my little box clasp and see if I like that. There's a jump ring on this box clasp. I'm going to see if it opens. Sometimes they're welded. I'm going to see if it opens, and I can attach it to my sorry, I gotta get some pliers here. Attach it to my wire guardian, and I think it's a welded jump ring. So I may have to get another jump ring, cut this one off. Yeah. So I am actually just going to try something. I'm going to grab my flesh cutters, and I'm just going to cut an opening, and then I can twist it open from side to side and see how this works. If it doesn't work well, I can always take this jump ring off and put another one on. But I've got this little jump ring on here, and I dropped it. So let me put this, it's just gonna mess with me today. And I'm gonna put this on here, see if I've got it the proper direction. I'm gonna close this jump ring and see what I've got, because everything is messing with me and my brain is malfunctioning. Okay. Close, you little pooper. Alright, let's see what we got. Yeah, I think that's okay. And then I'm going to grab another jump ring and put this one on this side. And I don't have any out because, you know, that would be way too prepared. So let me find one. And this is going to be a very bright silver, and I'm probably going to need a different color, but we're going to start with this. Now this is kind of a big jump ring, and it's not a very good jump ring. So, I will be right back. I'll find a jump ring and we'll finish this bracelet. Okay, so I found a jump ring I want to use. I want to use a small one because I don't want to give myself any more length on this bracelet because I think it's going to be real close to being too big for me. So I have found the opening of the jump ring and I've placed my plier on one side of that opening. I'm going to place the other plier on the other side and just twist it open. Then I'm going to put it on my clasp and then drop my, I'm just not coordinated. So I'm going to put it on here first, on the wire guardian, and then onto the clasp, and then I'm going to close it. And see if I like this. If I don't like this, then I can always put a different clasp on, just open the jump rings. That's the nice thing about wire guardians is you can change it out pretty easily. And if one of your little jump rings fails, breaks, whatever, opens, you can always put another clasp on it without having to re-sew everything and all that stuff. So this is what this looks like, and I'm going to try putting it on. Sometimes I can do box clasp pretty easy, sometimes I can't, and this has turned out to be too long for me. So you may want to do 14 units, and I'll measure it to show you. This is not horribly long, but I could use it at least a unit shorter probably. So this is what it looks like on the wrist. And let me back off just a little so you can see how pretty it is. This is what my clasping looks like. And it turned out pretty. And even though the when you lay the bracelet out, the clasps look kind of off kilter. They're not, because of the way that it lays on your wrist. So don't worry about that. I mean, it looks weird, but it's fine. And this is what it looks like. And I'm going to lay it around like this so you can see it again, all put together. And of course, not laying out flat, and on the wrist, this is not going to look all weird. It's really pretty. This is what this looks like. And let's measure it just for good measure. Haha. Just so you know how big it is, so you can adjust how many units you want to make. Now, I could use a smaller clasping or a different way of clasping to get it shorter, but really the box clasp isn't very big, and this goes inside it, so it was probably the smallest I could choose. And the this part goes inside, so I would say that this is about a 7 3/4 inch bracelet, which is just a little big. I like mine about 7 1/4. So it's about a 1/2 inch bigger than I like them to be. But I was designing, and a lot of times it takes one made so that you can see exactly what it turns out like. And since you can see what mine turned out like, you can adjust yours. So that's what that looks like. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please consider subscribing, maybe clicking the like button if you want to make me all jittery happy. And then if you would like to put up with me again, please hit the notification bell. Okay, sounds like a plan. Bye-bye.